Hi everybody, welcome back to another episode of our Dungeon Boss PvP series. Today we are looking at a question that goes back all the way to the beginning of the game in terms of who was kind of the best family or group of people to use since the beginning. And essentially it's a quote-unquote, where are they now? So the big question is, can goblins be effective in 2019? Is it possible to use them to any effect in PvP and be successful with it? So one thing to note about the goblin team is if you try to use 4 goblins, it's just flat out not going to work. The PvP defenses are too strong and you just don't have a chance. If one of them dies, then your entire raid is over with. So the question is, can we come up with a team that is viable to survive using somebody that can resurrect? Now, in my opinion, Solaris is probably the best option for it because she is able to resurrect a group of them if a couple of them die. Emily has a pretty decent cooldown on hers, and one at a time just probably isn't going to cut it. Looking at the rest of the goblins, who can we actually afford to skip out on? Well, in my opinion, Bramble and Nub Nub are the two best ones, partially because Bramble is a legendary one. He's got some cool stats here, such as the Goblin allies get 20% buff to attack and crit, and with the epic, the Goblin Stench, which enables a whole shit ton of attacks. I have his epic maxed out just for the purpose of trying this. And then looking at his overall stats, he's got 25,000 health, 10,000 attack, and 12,000 defense. I also, as far as runes on him, I have a little bit of damage reduction. I have a little bit of random junk. I have a damage reduction, I have an enabler rune, and I have a basic health defense one. He's been runed mostly to survive, and then I threw the enabler on him to give him a 50% epic, which in this case here starts the Goblin Dance Party. If you're unfamiliar with that, it's pretty awesome. Raises attack 70%. If you have that going for you, it's very, very helpful. And since he can do this on a basic attack and not need an ability, it's helpful to have those enabler runes, because then if you go against Jinn teams, you can do just a basic attack to start and maybe get the same net effect. Nub Nub I have ruined pretty much the same way. He's pretty much built as a survivor. He's got 30,000 health, 12,000 defense, not a ton of attack. Runes are pretty much the same basic principle. So he's got health, skill, heals a little bit, heals a little bit, heals a little bit, and then the enabler, and then you guessed it, heals a little bit. So he's meant to survive against all odds. Now he's not armored, he doesn't have serious damage reduction, but he is still pretty tough. That leaves one spot open for 2 people, either Squinch or Zerk. In my opinion, Zerk is sort of a patsy, and I love the fact that he can give a haste to the team, but he just dies way too easily, and he's not super powerful, and he doesn't really have AoEs. Squinch, on the other hand, is pretty powerful. He can hit quite hard, and if you can get his stuff off with the crits and such, you can get a little bit of extra burn on there, and you can get the taunt is not really that big of an issue right now. But his attack is 12,000. His max health in this case here is only 11,000. But his first ability is the Playing with Fire, which is an AoE. So if you're on a team with Bramble and you can get a few crits out of that, provided you get it off, you can start whipping out some serious damage. And Squinch does hit hard, but he dies pretty easily as well. So it's a trade-off, and I don't think there's any benefit in using just Bramble and Nub Nub and not a third Goblin. Otherwise, you're just getting away from some other team plus a Goblin. It doesn't really help that much. So in terms of a true Goblin team, this would be the team that I use most often. Keep in mind that there's going to be 2 core teams that you're going against. One is a Jinn team, one is a non-Jinn team. And the reason I break it down into that is because if you have a Jinn team, you're going to be stuck and you cannot use those abilities on the first turn. So in this case here, we have Jinn on the first team. This team here is going to get absolutely obliterated. I can 100% guarantee it, just because of the Ella and range combos. It'll be fun just to watch how badly it gets beat, but that's where we're at. So I'm going to pick my team. Again, this falls into the Jin versus not Jin team, and this is definitely a Jin team. So this is the team that I'm using. The order doesn't matter a ton. I generally like to put Squinch first, just in case they have a decent defense that doesn't have Jin, so you can get his ability off and go from there. But essentially what we're looking to do is to keep Solaris long enough to revive Squinch. Squinch is the primary damage dealer, though Bramble does pretty good damage himself too. But one of the main drawbacks of using this particular Goblin team is we're sitting on 2 healers, and that's just not a good comp for really any type of a raid. So here comes all the nonsense to open with. I expected all this to happen. We're going to get tons of attacks before we ever even get a turn. Best case scenario, Nub Nub survives, and then Solaris comes. Yeah, that's basically what I expected. So keep in mind, these guys here are ruined pretty well, so obviously this was a great defense. Not one that I would just blindly attack with that particular team. Now this one here should be far more doable because 1, they don't have Jin on their team, 2, they're significantly less level than me, and less rune power as well. Well, that pretty much ruins that. Squinch is out, and that basically means that we are screwed now because none of these guys are going to be doing enough damage to take out Zom. So that's kind of a bummer. I'll be honest, I was not expecting that. Taunting probably doesn't matter a ton here. Honestly, I'm just going to resign this raid because it's a waste of my time to keep on doing it. So we will resign this one. We'll try one more. Ultimately, though, it's going to take a really good defense to make the Goblins work. If you haven't guessed by now, you're likely going to have a hard time winning with a pure Goblin team of any capacity. Now that being said, these guys will tear through PvE dungeons hardcore. You can use all 4 Goblins and burn through a ton of PvE dungeons, even if they're primarily fire-based dungeons. But I have won a few raids using this particular team, and ultimately it comes down to keeping Solaris alive long enough to actually get a revive off and using Squinch's first ability. I am going to tell you, if you can get Squinch's ability off, he actually does attack pretty well. He's not that bad. So, see if we can get some luck here. There's the epic. So we got the Goblin Dance Party. That's one of the things I was hoping for. It's too bad Squinch is dead and Solaris is silence. So we're kind of stuck here for a bit. And Nub Nub with the heals. Alright, I think we are going to be able to get a revive off on Squinch, but we're just waiting for my turn. Thing is, though, they're going to be really dodgy. It's going to be pretty tough if I'm being honest here. See, love those enabler runes when they actually work. It's just too bad the team is basically dead. There's another nice epic. Again, I have basically 50% epic, so every other attack should be. You should have saw the heal there, 18,000 on Nub Nub as well. Really digging that as well, which is part of how he survives. But Solaris died yet again. This is insane. So, again, neither of these guys are really damage dealers, so it's really a slow match. Because we're looking at several turns before I can even think about getting Squinch back, and these guys just, they're not going to cut it. They're going to be dead in pretty much the next turn. Okay, so that's that. I'm just going to resign this one as well because this is unwinnable. and it's quite contrary to what I'm trying to show. So if you haven't guessed at this point here, Goblins in PvP really just can't cut it. There's a few instances. This one might be a chance I can win. I shouldn't have anybody getting feared away. We might be able to actually get some attacks off and, you know, do something. But the thing is, if you are up against a lesser quality team where they're lower rune power and they're lower level than you, it doesn't matter what team you're going to use. You're likely going to beat them. So trying to, you know, come up with a perfect team like a Goblin team to win at PvP, that's really irrelevant. It's just not going to happen. See, this is the one thing that really bugs me. When I do normal PvP, Shade never kills anybody. That just tells you how vulnerable somebody like Squinch is, unless you throw a bunch of defense on him. But he's an attacker. He's not meant to soak that damage. So it's a real bummer that he dies so easily. And to be honest, Zerk dies even easier. So there's not really much you can do about it. And I think what's going to happen is Shade is probably going to possess him too. Unless I can get my Resurrect off. It's going to be kind of embarrassing losing to a 77. Yeah, see, I don't even have the full Fury. It's a major, major bummer. There's the possession. I expected that. Now he's going to absolutely just tear these guys a new one. They're burning. They're doing heavy damage. That is a major disappointment. I mean, it's possible I could win this one, but it's going to be an empty win for the most part. I mean, at least they don't have Solaris, so it's not going to be a permanent resurrection on their part. Bring Nub Nub back. But honestly, I think Squinch is going to be... he's going to be coming out hard on this next attack. See, there's those epics again. Pretty awesome. We're making progress. I keep doing basic attacks so you can see the epic procs is really what I want to show you. I could have done the haste there, but it's mostly irrelevant for this fight. I'm not trying to preserve any type of a streak or anything like that. Alright, so Grog's going to be dead here. And then hopefully Squinch will disappear. We just got to deal with the rest of these guys. So as long as somebody doesn't get feared away, we should be fine. Again, I could use abilities there and do the defense, so not really a big deal for me. That was pretty good in terms of surviving that. It's a shame that Squinch can't soak it, but again, he's not defensive. Alright, we're in a good spot here now because even if he uses Spirit Link, I can cleanse it with Solaris, so I'm content with this. But again, this is not even close to how the raid was supposed to go. I wish I could have showed at least one instance of Squinch attacking because he does some serious damage. Like in PvE dungeons, I've had him go like 200,000 on a couple of hits. It's pretty impressive. But anyways, the moral of the story here is no, the Goblins are not going to be happening in PvP. It's just not going to happen. If you have any other comps that you think might work, like swapping in Emily or swapping out one or more of the Goblins for somebody else and using one just for a specific instance, I have seen people use a fully enabled Nub Nub. I don't know if that's worth it in my opinion, but definitely leave me your thoughts, and then you know, if you want to see something else, I'll gladly do it. Otherwise, thanks for watching. We'll see you again next time. Thank you so much for watching this video and supporting my channel. If you like this video, please show your continued support by hitting that like button, and be sure to check out both my YouTube channels for new content all the time. And always remember, peace is a lie, there's only passion. We'll see you next time.